Welcome to 409's Data Dump, a monthly podcast offering technology bites for the business owner. I'm Sarah Krom, managing partner of SKC & Co. CPAs and a shareholder of 409 Solutions. 409 Solutions provides technology solutions to small and medium-sized businesses in the areas of dashboard creation, process automation, and software integration. And our guest today is Ryan Warnet, co-founder and president of 409. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Great to have you back. Ryan is an expert in data analytics with a deep background in accounting. He focuses on helping businesses automate complex calculations using Power BI, making processes more efficient and accurate. So today we're going to be exploring how Power BI can automate commission calculations specifically, taking the guesswork out of payouts, reducing manual errors, and providing real-time insights. So whether you're struggling with complex commission structures or simply looking for ways to streamline your reporting, this episode is packed with valuable insights, and I'm excited to jump right in. So Ryan, tell me, give us a quick overview of how commission calculations become as complex as they become for businesses, and what are many of the challenges that our clients face?
Yeah, so when we were kind of brainstorming for this and was thinking about the different types of complex calculations that we do, I think commissions is something that is relatively straightforward in terms of, a lot of people get commissions, especially when you have a specific sales team, but the actual layers of the calculations can get pretty complex. Um, there's figuring out who gets paid out for what. There's complexities in terms of when they get paid. There's complexities for different types of sales, whether the customer is paid or not. There's all these different layers to commission calculations. And really, when it comes to commissions in general, it's something that we want to have a lot of confidence in. It's money coming out of the business, but it's also money going to an individual. So, as an individual, you're going to be very, or you want to be very on top of the money that you're, you know, liable for and what your compensation looks like.
People care about what they're going to get paid, and they want to make sure that it's calculated correctly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you're right, in as a concept, commission seems very easy. Here's the formula that we use to give you, whatever you're entitled to based on how you execute and show results. But when you really get down to the calculation piece of it, if it's something that's very manual, and I'm not saying we're doing this on the back of a napkin, but if we're doing it even in Excel and say we're pulling, data from our financial management software and we're inputting that into Excel, are we making an error in the input? Is there, a calculation, computation error embedded in the spreadsheet? Anytime there's human involvement in performing that calculation to whatever extent, whether it's keying it in or pulling numbers, there's always the chance that there's going to be errors. And the more complex these commission formulas become, the greater the chance for errors of that nature.
Absolutely. And there's also, complexities and things that people may forget in terms of like, specific sales quotas, let's say. If sales rep needs to hit a certain mark within their time period to get paid all of their commission, or, maybe they get a jump based on, a larger period of time than just what's getting paid out right now. So, there's a lot of things to keep track of, and there's a lot of room for error when there's human involvement and a lot of manual work to be done there.
So when you talk about the quota piece of it, are your dashboards and your calculations set up in a way that the salesperson or the sales manager can look at their individual calculation in real time and see, okay, there's a week and a half left of the period. What do I have to do to get where I want to get to? Or am I already there into that next level of, the commission structure?
Yeah, and that's really the beauty of the program that we use most of the time in Power BI, in terms of Power BI can handle the automation of all of those calculations where, you go in, you set up the formula with all the different conditions, and you have the data that feeds right in. But Power BI also lets you share that information in terms of tables and visuals so that, whoever is the one that's due that money, they could look at that as well and kind of see where they're at, track where they're at, and be able to see if I could get to this point, or if I do these things, this is how it'll affect my compensation. And so it can lead to, better decision making, or more off just motivate individuals, especially when it comes to, hitting your quota. If you haven't hit your quota yet, and that'll affect your compensation, you want to be able to see that in real time, be able to, really turn up the heat if you have to, and to be able to get there.
You mentioned you didn't use this term, but the transparency of it, right? Between the business owner or the sales manager and the individual salesperson, and actually having access to their own, I'll call it dashboard, you can call it calculation, really gives them the optics into how they're doing, what they need to be doing differently in real time. And it adds to, I think, better results overall for the organization.
And it builds trust within the team as well, where, the transparency of it, the actual individual can see the specific details of what makes up their commission, so that, there isn't that lack of trust of, oh, I was expecting this much but got this much. You have it right in front of you, you have all the details that go into it, and really creates that trust and transparency within the organization.
And it's timely too. I mean, we're not waiting for somebody to perform the calculation, which takes however long that may take, which then probably goes to another level of review, which then issues, checks are issued, and then it becomes, well, let me review it as the salesperson and see if I agree. That kind of just drags on and takes excess time. I'll say excess administrative time that doesn't really need to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So Ryan, tell me, how does your background in accounting, combined with your data analytics experience, position you to help businesses with this commission tracking?
So I've found myself in a position to be able to give advice in terms of either the strategy of commission structures or the actual policies themselves.
Mm.
So, having the accounting background, it really helps in terms of being able to express how commissions affect the general profitability of the company, where, we could lay it out of, this is the impact that it'll have on the bottom line of the company, as well as looking at it in terms of the individual side, to be able to kind of maintain that balance of, what's fair for both sides. Something that will motivate the sales representative, as well as, maintain profitability within the company so that you could continue to grow. And the data analytics side of things also helps in terms of really knowing what pieces of data are important, to be able to identify and create these calculations more easily. Like, for example, if you have different types of sales, if you have different products that have different commission percentages based on what type of product it is, having that data analytics background can help in terms of the actual data input process, or, wherever the sales information is, whether it's invoices, we need to make sure that we have a field on the invoice that identifies what type of product it is, which then identifies what type of commission is owed at the end of it. So kind of that mix of being able to talk more of the high level strategy policy side, and then using my data analytics skills to be able to identify and help the actual process to get the information we need to get to those policies.
And I'd imagine too, from, a behind the scenes standpoint, you understand the connections that need to happen with the various software that give you the data that you need to actually build out this calculator.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So why did you choose Power BI as the ideal tool for working with commission calculations?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's the automation part of it, where you do the calculation once and the data feeds in real time, and the calculation is already done. And there's a lot of flexibility in terms of the types of conditions you could put into those calculations. Um, you have the transparency that we talked about before, where you could show off those reports, and create that trust between the people that are getting paid out the commission and the actual company itself, as well as the actual tracking of the information as well, and tracking the commission numbers so that the representatives can get that extra motivation and really be able to see, okay, if I do this, this, and this will be my payout at the end of the day. Or if they have specific individual goals in terms of their compensation has in that commissions have an impact on, they can kind of backtrack from their goals to figure out what they need to sell to get to their compensation number that they wish.
Right. It's a win-win for everybody.
Exactly. Yep.
Do you have any real life success stories with clients that you've automated solutions for them that have led to specific improvements in efficiencies?
Yeah. So this one client is actually one of our very first clients at 409, but we've had a process in place for their commission automation for about 2 years now. They have uh, about 15 sales representatives. They have 5 different sales types that get different calculations. Uh, they have specific dashboards that they use, but really what identified this process as something that we really need to help with was the owner of the company would spend almost the entirety of a day pulling reports for all the sales reps, going through those reports, identifying, what gets paid out for what amount, and then doing the calculations in Excel, and then going to the next rep and doing that as well again and again and again. And it would take them almost a full day.
Mm.
So now our process, we have all of the conditions in, this identifies the rep, this identifies the percentage, this identifies whether the customer is paid or not, and then this is the actual commission amount at the end of the day. And then we have a dashboard for the sales reps as well, where they can track where they're at in real time. And, they could see, part of their commission structure is that the customer needs to pay the company before the representative gets paid out their commission. So they could see, this is where my commission's at now. This is where it would be if I could get my customers to pay within this time period. And so that is definitely very helpful for them, where they have their sales representatives helping out their collections department as well, because it directly impacts them. Uh,
Sure.
but that process we set in place, and with commission amounts and calculations, you always want to have some sort of approval process. Um, you know, while there is automation in terms of the calculations, you don't want to necessarily just blindly trust that everything is working perfectly every single time. You always need to review the numbers and approve them. So now we have a process in place that the day that commissions are supposed to be paid out, we go through, make sure that all the calculations are getting done correctly. If there's any one-off exceptions to the rules, we put those in, and we have our final commission numbers. So turn from almost about a full day's worth of work to do the commissions to a half hour to an hour at most for us to review and send out the commissions.
It's funny because we talk about the internal efficiencies that something like this level of automation breeds. And I think usually in terms of, administrative time, the finance department, the office manager doing, this type of calculation themselves. I don't often think of it as the business owner. And, any business owner who's listening to this can certainly appreciate having a whole day freed up essentially, or minus 1 hour that it takes for you guys to have your meeting. And, that's priceless for anybody in the organization, but it's really priceless for the business owner who's experiencing that, level of wearing every hat in the organization and being pulled in a million different directions. Plus, in the reality, it's never the best use of the business owner's time. They should either be out developing business, maintaining relationships, servicing clients, those types of things. So, this particular case study I think is really beneficial to discuss because it does actually save the business owner days.
Yeah, it's the actual position that they're in, that their time is very, very valuable.
Right.
So this isn't something they should be just, stuck in a spreadsheet all day for. This is something that can be automated and should be, and really the only involvement should be approving the numbers and, checking off that everything is good to go and then sending out the checks.
Right. So every company has obviously a different commission structure or formula. How is your solution customizable to fit in with whatever existing formula or structure that many different clients and companies have?
Yeah, so I'll try not to nerd out too much in the specific details of it,
Mhm.
but if anyone's familiar with Excel, they're probably familiar with if formulas.
Mhm.
If this, then this. Essentially, commission calculations and structures are just a big if formula. And I usually like to map it out visually because I'm a visual person, where I'll usually create like a roadmap or a flow chart in terms of this is the first thing we're looking for. If it has this, it goes down this route. And then the next step of if it has this, it goes down this route. And then you just throw in all of those ifs into the calculation, and you'll get your output. But really where it is so customizable is, as long as we have the information we need to identify the differences within the complexities of the calculation, we'll be able to throw in that if formula for it to send it down the right path of the calculation, and get to the actual percent of the invoice that we need to do for the calculation. You could also put floors and ceilings in terms of, the first one. If this sales rep has this amount, then they get this percentage or this jump in percentage. Um, there's really endless possibilities. As long as we have the data for it, we'd be able to make those calculations.
Right. And that's the other, wild card component that works into that customizable formula is where's the data coming from, right? So there's the structure of the commissions, but there's also where are we getting the data from? Is it coming from our accounting software? Is it coming from our CRM? Is it coming from our invoicing software? And I think that is something else that, we didn't touch on, but certainly adds to the customization of the dashboard.
Yeah, like us being able to pull information from a CRM and a invoicing software, where maybe some of the information that we need is on the CRM, like the sales rep or the type of customer. And then the invoicing software is giving us the actual amounts of the invoices. If we could create that link for that customer, we'd have all that information in place. And we'll be able to create those calculations.
So what does the process typically look like to start off with if a company is interested in going down the road of automating their commission calculations?
Yeah, I mean, the first step is getting an understanding and laying out the actual calculation and the actual structure itself. What are there sales quotas? Are there different types of sales? What is the path to get to our commission numbers? And then once that's laid out, it's a matter of creating that information, and then connecting to the data sources, double checking our calculations, making sure everything is working the way it should be. Um, and then it's the matter of setting up the cadence of the actual payout of the commissions itself. And how do we track what's been paid for, what's still owed to the representative in terms of their commission amounts. And that'll usually involve some sort of meeting in terms of could be with myself, or it could be internally where you go through and you double check the numbers. This is all good. This is what we're paying out for. And then identifying those ones that you paid out for so that you don't double pay or miss certain items that need to get paid. So that's usually what the process looks like. It's just laying it out, connecting to the data, and then putting the process in place to pay it out.
And just a final thought from my end, because I've worked with some of the clients that you guys have these dashboards for. Another benefit of this is if the organization is big enough that they have a sales manager or several sales managers over regions or geographies or what have you, and that sales manager's role is so much easier because their dashboard has every salesperson on it, and they're not worrying about what is happening in real time because they have that data in front of them. They're not waiting until the quarter's over or the month is over and they're getting commission reports. That data is there for them to act on in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, having the dashboards and, having the ability to put permissions on certain accounts so that, specific people in specific roles can see more information than others where needed so that someone in a position like a sales manager can see the sales representatives that they're managing and make sure that they're on track, kind of see how they're doing in terms of their performance, if they need any support. Um, but also the sales representatives could log in. We could put the security so that they also don't see everyone, where they could, if we only want them to see just what they're doing and track their own information, we'd be able to just show that information as well.
You make it sound so simple, Ryan.
Is
Thank
it?
you for joining us and sharing those insights today, Ryan. I appreciate you coming back as a guest.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Sarah.
And thank you to our audience for tuning into this episode of Data Dump. We hope that you found inspiration in today's conversation on using Power BI to make complex calculations more simple. Remember, the world of technology is full of possibilities, so never stop learning. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with someone who would love this. And join us next time as we continue to explore the wonderful world of technology in our ever-changing universe.